What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be breaking down some pretty interesting set photos for The Flash Season 9, Episode 11. And of course, guys, these set photos were provided by Canadagraph, so make sure you guys go in the description and check out all his stuff. So yeah, guys, we're just going to get right into it. So starting off, these set photos are apparently going to be set in the future due to there being gravestones from like the 2040s, as I think the Blue Crystal will have something to do with this. So, you know, obviously the Blue Crystal was set in 2049 in that Season 8 cliffhanger, so maybe this is the time that it is. Now, Canadagraphs also mentions a couple other characters that are supposedly in this scene, one of them being Speed Force Nora, and one of them being like a character that's just referred to as Malcolm. And, you know, we'll go over that Malcolm character in a second, but first let's go over this. So with all that being said, there was a gravestone that says Edward Thawne, obviously meaning Eddie Thawne. But, you know, Rick Cosnett, who obviously plays Eddie, was on set, and the scene that was, you know, shot was him digging up a grave. It's unclear as to whether or not it was Eddie's grave, but, you know, Eddie's grave was in the graveyard, obviously, so I'd say that it's likely that's what's happening here, unless he's, like, digging up a relative or something like that. I mean, obviously, Eddie Thawne is dead, which does make it a little bit complicated, but, I mean, it's 2049, timelines are always changing. This could be Eddie Thawne digging up a relative. That would be very interesting right there. Now, guys, assuming that Rick is actually going to be playing Eddie here, why would he be digging up his own grave? And, you know, how is that even possible? Obviously, Eddie Thawne's dead, so why would he be digging up his own grave? Now, I will say Eric Wallace has avoided a lot of times to say that Rick Cosnett is playing Eddie. All he's said is that Rick Cosnett's returning. He has never said once that he's going to be playing Eddie. So, a theory I have is, what if Eddie, or Rick, is going to be playing this Malcolm character in this scene? Now, for those who don't know, Cobalt Blue in the comics is named Malcolm Thawne, and my theory for what's happening here is Malcolm Thawne is Eddie's son, something along those lines, but then there's, like, the question, obviously, of how is Eddie's son alive if Eddie isn't alive? I think it's because of the Blue Crystal. That's my theory, at least. So what if Eddie's son is, like, destined to become Cobalt Blue, but he can't fully exist because of Eddie being dead, so he's like digging him up to like revive him or something like that? I think that's, I guess, a theory. And yeah, I know Eddie's presumable son would be looking exactly like Eddie Thawne if this was actually like you know, what's going to be happening here, but they've done that before in the Arrowverse with like past relatives, so I think that, you know, they could make that work. Now, all of that is just one theory, of course. Another theory could be that, you know, this is Eddie coming out of the grave, and we're misunderstanding this. What if he's not digging into the grave? What if he's digging out of the grave, and now he's, like, you know, putting the dirt back or something like that? So that means he could have, like, you know, like, he's been revived. That could be what this means. Now, I do think that makes a lot more sense here, but then again, that wouldn't explain the Malcolm character connection, unless they say now that Eddie's been revived, his ancestor Malcolm Thawne becomes Cobalt Blue, and, you know, the Blue Crystal is what revives Eddie. I think something like that could be a lot better you know, in terms of explaining how Eddie's alive again. So yeah, for now I would go with that theory. And for those of you guys saying, oh, well, when Eddie died, he was sucked up into a singularity, how do they have his body to bury? And the answer to that is, you know, obviously so many timeline changes have happened. Crisis, Flashpoint, Reverse Flashpoint. So all of that could have changed how Eddie died. Maybe he, you know, just simply shot himself and got rid of the Reverse Flash. There was no singularity that opened up, you know, in this timeline. I think that's definitely possible. So yeah, then they could have just buried Eddie right there, and then now he could be revived. Now, also, with that said, guys, apparently Speed Force Nora is meant to be in this scene, so maybe she's responsible for Eddie's revival somehow. Maybe she knows the universe needs to be, like, in balance with the negative Speed Force avatar, obviously assuming Red Death is not the negative Speed Force avatar. So maybe she's forced to, like, revive Eddie in order for Cobalt Blue to exist and keep the universe in balance. I'm not exactly sure, you know, what's going on here with all these set photos. You know, this is probably one of the more confusing scenes for The Flash Season 9 so far, so it'll be really interesting to see how this all plays out. But yeah, you know, Speed Force Nora, Eddie Thawne, you know, all these random characters in this scene it's gonna be very, very interesting to see what happens here. So guys, with Eric Wallace, like, basically teasing Cobalt Blue and, you know, just talking about Rick Cosnett's return, and, you know, now with the addition of this mysterious Eddie Thawne scene with him presumably digging up his own grave, and now with the introduction of this Malcolm character, I'd say it's basically confirmed that Cobalt Blue is going to be appearing later in the season, and there's going to be something going on with Eddie. He's going to have some type of connection to that, whether it's actually Rick Cosnett playing Eddie as Cobalt Blue, or Rick Cosnett playing this Malcolm character, you know, as Cobalt Blue. But yeah, like I said, I'd basically say it's confirmed that Cobalt Blue is going to be appearing in the season. But anyways, I'd say that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to comment your thoughts on this video down below, as well as your thoughts on all this Eddie Thawne Cobalt Blue stuff. I'm sure a lot of you guys have some great theories about what's going on, so make sure you comment all that down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.